Hi, it's nice to see your beautiful face.
Yes, hi. I
Do you have a little
have a
bubby?
little bubby.
Yeah,
I find it's pertinent to your page and to your work to have
yeah,
him with me because he's 11 months old and he needs me right now.
absolutely. And I
Oh.
like that about this kind of work is that I've never come across a situation where the women that I'm meeting with or working with aren't flexible to me also meeting the needs of my children. So that's really nice.
Mhm.
Not like the typical employer, right?
True, yes.
So if you need a break at any point, just let me know. But we were gonna hop on today and just do like a 15-minute little chat. Um, so behind the scenes, we're friends here online, and we've had some chats. And I've also listened to your podcast about some of the work that you're doing, called QHHT, and that is Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, correct?
That's right,
Right.
yeah.
So obviously this is super intriguing work. And we're both working in the realms of birth, life, and death.
Mhm.
And I think this work that you're doing has applications for all of that. And so I'm always interested in hearing more about the modalities that we can maybe integrate into our own lives, into the lives of the women that we work with, in terms of healing and growth and expansion. So I wanted to talk with you today. I don't think I need you to explain everything about the modality because you do have a podcast episode that people can go and check out, which is a little bit more in depth. But what I was wondering today was where, like, what is your why behind doing this work? Do you have an intro story? Is there something that came into your field that really inspired you to look into this more and then eventually start offering it to other people?
Mhm. Yeah, sure. So, um, quantum healing hypnosis technique, I call it QHHT for short. It was created by Dolores Cannon, who's well known now, and she was just a hypnotist who was helping people with their addictions or different things. Yeah, mostly addictions like eating disorders. And in her hypnosis sessions, she had one client who fell into a past life.
Mm.
And this was back in the 70s, and she got curious about it, and then she started kind of trying it with other people. And a lot of hypnot in her training at the time, it was kind of like, we know this happens, we know it's possible, but don't go there because it's dangerous. And she just got curious and kept going there. And so she had a lot of people access past lives. She had people access like ET abduction things, because in hypnosis you can access like anything that the mind has ever experienced, right? And so there are reports of people who yeah, think they were possibly abducted by ETs. And so her work went into that pretty in depth. And but the most beautiful part of it is that after that that experience, a lot of people go even deeper where they access like their inner self, their subconscious self, their higher self, and they speak from this place of incredible peace, love, and knowing. It's like the veils of the human and this personality kind of drop, and you get to access and speak from this place.
Mm.
And so she wrote many books about what these voices say, and she just calls them they, because the voice, though that voice from every person, that like inner voice, higher knowing, has a very similar message. Whenever it's speaking from everyone, it's always like heart working towards harmony, how to get closer to source, and then it will give like specific details for that person. And so, yeah, there's a few things that I'd love to share. As we were talking, there are things that popped into my mind about interesting stories that people have had, especially regarding birth, because I've had people see themselves give birth in past lives. And there's different stories about that. So I want to touch on that after. But you asked about why I got into this work. I was always interested in metaphysics growing up, crystals, astrology, all the things. But it was kind of taboo in my family and in society. And so I only really started delving in university years. I was studying yoga and meditation on the side while studying engineering. And then after my degree, I felt that my soul was just deprived. I kind of had like a crisis of some kind, like a quarter life crisis, and my life went another direction. I did a yoga teacher training course and Reiki, met my partner, and he was interested in instant healing. He felt like instant healing was possible. Like humans could access instant healing, and how could we do that? And so he Googled instant healing, and QHHT came up. So that was back in 2014. We started diving into it, and then we took our training in 2015 online, and then we were practicing on each other. And that was like a wild experience to learn about your partner from like the perspective of their past lives.
That's wonderful.
And
That's such an interesting take of it, to do it
yeah,
like that, like to have someone so close to partner with, to really like dive headfirst into such a yeah, intense experience.
yeah, we're both kind of intense and deep in that sense. I'm really grateful for him, and we're willing to open up and go there. And a lot of people take the training but don't have anyone to practice on. And so we were just able to practice on each other. And then he said he doesn't have the patience for it because it's like a 2-hour guided meditation. That's what I call it. It's you're really fully guiding the person for 2 hours. And I just found it fascinating what was possible. I find it very healing for the clients, and also for me, kind of as a practitioner, to be in that space with people. I find it very similar to the birth space. It's like the veils are thin, the energy is just very different, and I like being with people in that space where they're more in their spiritual self than like their surface human self. Yeah.
Totally. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's yeah, what an interesting intro. You're just like, well, we were just like Googling how to do this thing and this came up, right?
Yeah.
It's so interesting how things come into our field at just the time they're supposed to. Very neat. So then the other thing I was wondering, like you touched on, obviously there's a lot of super interesting stories that can come out of this. And is there anything that either you've experienced in a session, someone guiding you, or that you have guided someone in a session that has like really stood out as a really interesting or unique story? Maybe you can share a little bit.
Hmm. Well, I actually find that every session is unique. And what people take away from is almost the emotional experience of that other personality. So, for example, like I've seen one person who had a very hard childhood, a very traumatic childhood, abuse and things like that, and she was worried that she would see really difficult things. Like she was worried that she deserved that childhood because of things she had done in past lives. And she actually ended up seeing a past life that was very peaceful and beautiful, and kind of got to have that emotional experience and feel it in her body of what that feels like to be that safe. And there was another girl, this was actually someone that Vitali regressed, and she had a very good life in this life and felt like, why do I deserve this? Like, I have amazing family, amazing parents. I don't have problems, you know? My friends have all these problems. Why? And it was this pressing thing that she just felt like, why don't I have problems like other people? And she ended up seeing a past life that was very difficult, and the message from her higher self was, Like, this is a break for you. This is a break life. Like, enjoy it, explore spirituality because you can in this life. And it's a break from what you've been through. So to feel that emotionally in the body, like it just lifts off this emotional, psychological, spiritual weight, that we can be carrying. Um, there was one woman who hadn't had children and who saw herself in childbirth and having a baby in a past life. And the message was that she didn't need children in this life, that she had already done it, and she was always curious about the process, and so she was able to like relive it um, in a past life, which is wild. I've seen once someone who died in childbirth, which was very interesting. And from like that soul's perspective, and I don't like hold on to these stories as being 100% true. Like she saw this in the regression. That means that definitely there was a woman who died in childbirth, and she was that. I think that the lines are a lot more blurred than we think. And so to me, it's just accessing another experience, whatever it is that the person needs to see. And so she saw a personality that died in childbirth, and the message was that in that life, like that the family was fine. Like she had a choice. And a lot of people will say that, even people who have had near-death experiences, they have a choice whether to come back or whether to leave this world. And that woman had a choice, and it was like a moment where she could leave, and so she decided to leave. She said, I can feel that my husband will be taken care of. He's going to meet someone else. My kids will be fine. I need to continue on for my next adventure. Um, so yeah, that one really sticks with me. And then around the death experience, because when we do the regression, I bring people to see the death in the past life, and always like even if the actual death itself is traumatic or difficult, once the death, like at the moment of death, it's peace. It's love, it's relief, it's so beautiful what everybody describes it, and that's something that fascinates me. I've been fascinated by death for a while, so I've read a lot of books about it, but to also witness it in a session, I just had one recently where someone said there was an important elder who had died in that life, and that elder spirit was kind of around this person and that personality. And then at the moment of death, that same light came out, and she said it was just like a light in the room, and her soul just like went towards this light, and she was really like transformed by this experience. And when she came out, she said, "Oh my God, death is easy. Death is beautiful." Like it was a real big change, a real big shift. So I love that. I love being able to offer that experience for people, that they can move on with their life without a fear of death. Yeah, it just gives like a big perspective on life.
Yeah, that's huge. Like there's a few things that you just touched on there. I might have to go for a baby in a second. A few things that you touched on, like you hear in the birth community, a lot of women talk about this idea of a redemption birth, right? Where they've had some children and perhaps experiences that were really unfavorable, and they want to have another experience so that they can have that peaceful one, that joyous one. And instead of actually maybe having to do it, you can maybe access those kinds of feelings by doing an exercise like this instead. And it might not even be birth related, but just that sense of calm and peace surrounding a certain subject or experience, which I think is absolutely beautiful. Mm-hmm. And another thing that you mentioned is that to do something like this, or I think any kind of like spiritual healing modality, you don't have to be like all in on, yes, this is 100% true and this is what happens. But I think going into these experiences with an open mind and just knowing that we are capable of healing, not necessarily because of the practice, but because of what we will open ourselves up to, right? If we are open to what we can do within ourselves, within our psyche, within our own bodies, those mindset shifts, that's where we can experience healing from. So whether it's Reiki or yoga or QHHT or physical therapies, meditations, any of this is just really like, what are you willing to be open to and what are you willing to draw from the experience? None of it, even, I've talked before about religion and God, and that, some people are steadfast in that this is factual, whereas I think I lean to the side of, I don't need it to be factual in order to have it in my sphere, and take the good properties from that, like take the good morals and the values, and so I think it's like that with any kind of modality that you want to have in your life. So that's super interesting. Obviously, those stories are really cool. And like you said, just to be in the presence of a vulnerable person able to sink deeper into themselves, just like they do in birth, just like they do at end of life, is just such an honor and wildly intriguing and mind expanding. And that's why I also love to do all of this work, right? So maybe we'll cut it off there. I appreciate you sharing, and maybe you can just let people know where they can find you best and what kind of offering you're doing right now.
Yeah, they can find me, I guess, on my Instagram, which will be connected here, at Emily Alexina, Emily written the French way. I think it'll be posted in your video, right? And I'm offering one-on-one QHHT sessions, which are about 5 hours long total in 2 parts. And then also group regressions, which are going to be coming more in the GTA and in different areas in Quebec. And I want to travel around to offer them, where people can get a taste for this kind of work and ask their questions before they want to dive deep. Because one thing I want to add that I love about this is that sometimes people have questions about past lives or spiritual things. They want to know about their karma, and they go to get like an Akashic record reading, or they ask a psychic or something like that. And I think that has its place. But what I love about this work is that it's all through you. It's me asking questions, and the person has their own experience. There's nothing put onto them from an outside source. So, and yeah, I just want to add that in.
Yeah, like healing intrinsically, right? And it's all coming from an intrinsic place. It's yeah, like you said, it's not this external expectation for healing.
Yeah, well, like I once had a psychic reading by someone who said, I see that in a past life you were killed with an axe to the neck, and now I'm going to heal you from that. I was like, okay, no,
Thank you, but no thank
I've
you.
seen past lives, so I know what things, and like that doesn't super resonate, so
No.
no.
And that's just it. Like from any of these experiences, right? You take what does
Yeah.
resonate and you leave what does not. And that's, I think it's pretty rare to step into something and have an experience like fully land in your body. That's probably pretty exceptional and fortunate. And I never want people to discount something right off the hop just because maybe it's not like completely landing for them in every aspect, but seeing what you can take from something is really really important, because otherwise you're just missing out on so many things that we can experience in this life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love it because it taps into what humans are capable of, and that we haven't been really open to in many centuries. So I'm very excited to open that up for people.
Thank you for joining me tonight, and we will continue our chats offline. And and we'll connect again.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Great.
Emily.
Sandra, bye.